Oops, my hand just slipped. So clumsy of me.
Oh dear, what a shame.
The lobby of the Grand Meridian Hotel shimmered with polished marble, crystal chandeliers, and the quiet confidence of people who believed wealth belonged to them by birthright. Every smile was calculated, every handshake measured, and every conversation carried the weight of fortunes waiting to change hands. That evening, executives from one of the country's fastest-growing investment groups gathered to finalize what the financial press had already labeled the deal of the decade, an $800 million partnership that promised to reshape an entire industry. Cameras waited outside. Lawyers reviewed final documents upstairs. Investors celebrated before a single signature had touched paper. In the middle of all that luxury, a black woman stepped through the revolving doors wearing a simple navy dress, comfortable heels, and carrying nothing more than a leather folder. Her name was Vanessa Brooks. There were no designer logos announcing her wealth, no security detail surrounding her, and no dramatic entrance demanding attention. She preferred it that way. For years, she had learned that people often revealed their true character when they believed she held no power. She had spent a lifetime watching assumptions speak louder than facts. Tonight would be no different. The hostess glanced at Vanessa before looking past her, assuming she was staff or perhaps an assistant arriving early. Without asking who she was, the woman pointed toward a side hallway reserved for service employees. Vanessa smiled politely and thanked her before walking toward the ballroom entrance instead. She knew exactly where she belonged. Across the room, several executives noticed her. One whispered something to another, and they laughed. Their eyes followed her every step, not with curiosity, but with judgment. Expensive watches flashed as glasses of imported wine clinked together. One man muttered that someone needed to improve security because guests were starting to wander in from anywhere. Another joked that perhaps catering had hired extra help. They spoke quietly enough to avoid public embarrassment, but loudly enough for Vanessa to hear every word. She kept walking without changing expression. Long before she built an empire, she had learned that dignity often meant refusing to let ignorance control your emotions. Years earlier, Vanessa had been the daughter of a school janitor and a nurse who worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. She studied by streetlights during neighborhood power outages, earned scholarships despite teachers who underestimated her, and entered boardrooms where she was repeatedly mistaken for administrative staff instead of the strategist leading billion-dollar negotiations. Every obstacle became fuel. Every insult became motivation. She built Brooks Horizon Capital from a tiny office with secondhand furniture into one of the nation's most influential investment companies. Yet despite magazine covers, philanthropic awards, and international recognition, she rarely appeared at social events. Most people negotiating tonight had never met her face-to-face. They only knew the company's legal representatives. That anonymity had become an unexpected test of character for everyone she encountered. As she approached the reception table, a young coordinator politely asked for her invitation. Vanessa handed it over. The coordinator's eyes widened for a split second upon reading the name, but before she could respond, one of the senior executives interrupted. Holding a glass filled nearly to the rim with expensive red wine, he smiled with practiced arrogance and said, "I'm afraid this reception is private. Staff entrance is around the corner." Vanessa calmly replied, "I appreciate your concern, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Her composure irritated him more than defiance ever could. Several nearby guests turned to watch. The executive chuckled, pretending the exchange was entertainment. Then, with a careless gesture disguised as an accident, his shoulder struck his own glass. The wine splashed across Vanessa's dress, staining the front with deep crimson streaks. Silence spread through the ballroom. A few people gasped. Others laughed nervously, unwilling to challenge a powerful executive. He shrugged dramatically and offered an apology so insincere it sounded like another insult. "These things happen," he said. "Maybe next time we're something that doesn't blend in with the waitstaff." Laughter echoed from a few corners of the room. Vanessa looked down at her dress before lifting her eyes back to his. There was no anger in her face, only disappointment. She accepted a napkin from a shocked employee and quietly thanked her. Instead of raising her voice or demanding respect, she simply asked where the nearest restroom was. While she stepped away to clean the stain, conversations resumed as though nothing important had happened. But among the hotel employees who had witnessed everything, Whispers spread rapidly. They recognized the name on the invitation. One receptionist searched the event documents again, her hands beginning to shake. Another rushed to inform the event director, whose expression turned pale within seconds. Upstairs, attorneys preparing the contracts received an urgent phone call. Their clients needed to know immediately what had just happened downstairs. 20 minutes later, the ballroom lights dimmed as the master of ceremonies stepped onto the stage. He welcomed everyone and thanked the investors for attending before announcing that the founder and sole owner of Brooks Horizon Capital had finally arrived. Every conversation stopped. Every executive turned toward the entrance. The doors opened slowly, and Vanessa walked inside wearing the same wine-stained dress. She had made no effort to hide the evidence. The stain had become a statement. The room froze. Faces drained of color. The executive who had humiliated her tightened his grip on his empty glass as realization settled over him like concrete. Vanessa walked confidently to the stage while every eye followed her. The master of ceremonies handed her the microphone before quietly stepping aside. She looked across the audience for several moments before speaking. "My parents taught me that respect costs nothing," she began softly. "But tonight I witnessed people willing to trade their integrity for the illusion of superiority." No one moved. This partnership was never only about financial growth. It was about trust. $800 million requires more than impressive presentations and polished speeches. It requires character. She paused, allowing every word to settle into uncomfortable silence. "Before investing in companies, I invest in people. Unfortunately, some introductions reveal more than background checks ever could." She looked directly at the executive responsible. He lowered his eyes. "The wine on this dress will wash away," she continued. "The choices made in this room tonight will remain part of every reputation represented here." She thanked the hotel employee who had offered kindness when others chose humiliation, announcing that Brooks Horizon Capital would be funding scholarships for hospitality workers pursuing higher education in her honor. The audience erupted into applause, not because they felt comfortable, but because they recognized grace stronger than revenge. Vanessa then closed the leather folder without signing a single page. She announced that Brooks Horizon Capital would withdraw from the agreement and pursue partnerships with organizations whose leadership demonstrated respect before ambition. $800 million disappeared with one decision. The executives who had measured people by appearance suddenly understood the true cost of prejudice. As Vanessa walked toward the exit, no one dared stop her. The same marble floors reflected a different room now, one stripped of arrogance and filled with regret. Outside, reporters rushed toward her with microphones, asking whether the deal had collapsed. Vanessa smiled gently before answering. "No opportunity is worth sacrificing dignity." By sunrise, the story dominated every news outlet in the country. Investors praised her integrity. Community leaders celebrated her example. Young Black professionals shared her story as proof that success never requires abandoning self-respect. And somewhere beyond the headlines, a little girl watching the news saw a woman who looked like her refuse to let humiliation define her worth. That lesson would become more valuable than any $800 million contract ever could.